Mary Newman, are you here? Yes, Mary Newman is given her 3 minutes to analyze. She'll have 6 minutes.
Hello. I'm Ann Weston, assistant to the Planning Commission. I think you already know that I have the public records. We've been studying them for 10 months. So we have a good knowledge about what is a public, public use and what is an educational system. All right. From my perspective, first of all, on this first page, when you turn it over in the back, this is exhibit 1.
Address your comments, ma'am, to the commission.
Oh, this is exhibit 1 on the back, and then when there are dark lines, the dark print, that you can go back later and check the exhibit. From my perspective, exhibit number 1 has been rewritten because the Procinctu project cannot meet the original standards for LU 6.2. To me, the newer version was rewritten to accommodate the Procinctu project. Objections. I object to the rewritten version as all of Riverside County can now be affected, allowing other controversial projects into any city and zoning area except the open space conservation and habitat areas. Plus, the health and safety of communities are now in jeopardy. Procinctu has issued a public use permit PUP 885 in January of 2008 in the Riverside County by the Riverside County Board of Supervisors to operate a privately owned, for-profit police and military tactical training center in Homeland, California, including a driving test track, skid pad, 30 buildings, 9 indoor firing ranges. On this 200-acre site, 50 acres will be used for construction. I have a Bachelor of Science degree, and I know BS when I hear it. There is no whatsoever listing in that project that they are going to have outdoor live fire. I have heard John say it, it's on tape, we have it on tape. He says there is no outdoor live fire. It's all in the public records, it's in the papers up there, and a lot of these people have seen them. And I will call it a lie. In my opinion, it's a lie. All of this is an opinion. The facility, and then I close with this facility is not compatible in scale and design with surrounding land uses. That was in the first exhibit. The boulder-strewn Lakeview Mountains connect to the valley floor on the east side of Briggs, a little past Norden to Gunther, in a residential rural area designated RA1 acres and 10 acres. It is not zoned for any type of military or police training, and it's adjacent to Prayer Mountain and established church retreat. It is, I think I have it down there later, but also about this private police and military training is at the planning department, I believe it was June 2006, Richard Dozier said, we cannot support this because there is nothing in the public use permit that will allow that type of training. At the northeast, and therefore this project is not consistent with community development. At that northeast corner where the church is located will be an outdoor firing range or ranges using lead bullets 5 times a year and simulated weapons such as hand grenades and landmines, and not limited to, as in the conditions of approval 22808. It should not have been allowed as outdoor live fire is not on the permit contract. No concrete, no cement wall will be around the project. Highly volatile trees, such as eucalyptus and California pepper trees, are filled with oil and they explode when there is a fire. Coupled with a stray bullet and Santa Ana winds, a fire is waiting to happen. And in the very first exhibit, the location will jeopardize public health, safety, and welfare of the area. Exhibit 31 should have remained. Procinctu says it's an educational institution, but it is not listed in the project description. It was listed January 9th, 2008, after the project was approved on that day. And I'd like you to know that that tape of 3 hours was damaged. We have no record of it. It was damaged. And if it were a school, as Ray Lutz said, then the project will be allowed next to a school. The proposed trail marked school cannot build now because it's too close to Procinctu. The crossed out Exhibit 1 was sent to me. This is the important part. The first part on here that was removed, crossed out, on August 20th, 2008, I spoke in front of the Board of Supervisors and I asked them about why is it an educational institution. Rod Wildman sent me the letter, that one right up there that's crossed out, going into great detail to validate that it's an educational institution. Now it's been obliterated. It's not even up here. It's not an educational institution. Besides, they tried to hide the fact from the public. That's in public records also. And it was also taken off maps and things like that. It was putting training facility instead. Those are all in the public records. Procinctu, another thing about an educational system. Procinctu says it's not an educational institution, but it's not even listed in the project description either. And if it were a school, then the project would be allowed next to a school. Oh, there it is. The proposed trail school cannot be built there. Now, the crossed out exhibit, as I said, was sent to me by Planning Director Ron Goldman way back August 20, 2008 to validate it was an educational institution. Why did they take it out? It's no longer an educational system. It's gone.
You could complete your comments.
Once established, Procinctu can apply for a continuous events exception that is found in Noise Ordinance 847, which will allow outdoor live fire regularly 365 days a year. Besides, Procinctu is exempt from the county noise ordinance, and I don't want to hear it isn't because it is exempt, as they are supposedly training governmental personnel. This facility will generate excessive noise, fumes, and odors that will have a negative impact in the area. It was crossed out.
Thank you, Ms. Weston.
Let me just finish. They had a couple of minutes left too.
Ms. Weston, I'm
Okay.
going to tell you to stop now.
Oh.
You had 6 minutes to talk about a project that is not before us.
Okay, it's in my opinion that it should be
Thank
rescinded,
you.
revoked, and ended because it is
Thank you.
detrimental to okay, one of these. These are very good.
Del Ross.
Commissioners, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I am a professional engineer, I'm a concerned citizen. I live in the San Jacinto Basin, which is addressed. I'm doing a pro bono assignment for this land just spoke on a third-party CEQA review of the particular project, etc. In point of law, Counselor, if you're opening up an issue in testimony, which you have testified as Procinctu, and planning has brought in Procinctu into this discussion, the speakers have a right to address that particular issue. From all indication I can think of, Procinctu was the issue that brought the county to this conclusion. And we'll talk about, just take a look at the this amendment. By leaving out a portion of the document that comes before this, it left out the heart and soul of environmental issues. Oh yes, it can be just here, there's somewhere else, Councilor, which you have pointed out, except that what we have here is the law of unintended consequences. If you follow AB, the legislation in the state, you'll find that when they do present a new law, it goes by AB something, for example. And then when it gets codified and comes in and pieces of it go here, there's somewhere else. Well, all the pieces and the consequences of this particular change needs to be tracked down all the way through the documents, and not just put a helter-skelter here and there somewhere else. That's really important. Other issue has to do with the environmental issues. I'm sorry the environmental CEQA process was halted through the determination of significance and the filing of a negative declaration for which they've said that all of the issues can be mitigated. 847, the noise ordinance, gets a new meaning when you have a public use, and it's so identified in the documentation. Also, there was no draft EIR. Does not exist. There's not even a list of the hazardous materials that are going to be on this site or that can be deposited on this site, such as lead, arsenic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're common to these kinds of facilities by the EPA. Planning should have checked these things, and a lot of homework to do on this project that needs to be done. I'm requesting you not only reject this amendment, but you also repeal the application by Procinctu for the public use permit. Any questions?
Sir, there's no nexus here between this amendment and your Procinctu.
I beg your pardon?
There's no nexus whatsoever. I was fascinated by all this Procinctu stuff being brought up. It was a comment by Commissioner Snell as basically an analogous comment from what I understand. And maybe he should explain it, because he's being cited in his quotation in the staff report as somehow this conspiracy theory that's going on here is just absolutely amazing to me.
This is not a
When I say people have been unnecessarily riled up, I mean, I really mean it. You folks, I don't know who has gotten you all riled up about this, but it is absolutely not the case. There's no conspiracy going on here whatsoever.
second page.
And I'll let Commissioner Snell, if he cares to address this issue about his mentioning in a quote in the staff report, what he was. I think I know what he's going for, but let's let him say it, because you guys are putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 500 million. I'm sorry.
Sir, you're wrong. Staff report that's in your dossier for this particular case, right here on page 2 of your report, for staff report for this meeting, says with regard to the Procinctu project.
Yeah. Is it
By introducing the word
is
Procinctu project
Commissioner
into
Snell's
the
quote?
Pardon?
Read the first page of the staff report. and
No, I
how
just put the
Procinctu-
word Procinctu in here, makes it open for discussion.
You're going to want to go wherever you want to go. Why don't you just, if you're so upset with the county, why don't you file a lawsuit trying to overturn the Procinctu
That's
decision?
coming next.
Beautiful, do
Okay,
it.
Commissioner Petty. Thank you.
We get this fully vetted and handled once and for all.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Thank you for your comments. Paul Jacobs. You're going to refrain?
No.
Paul Jacobs.
Yes.
3 minutes.
Good afternoon. Pardon?
3 minutes.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Paul Jacobs from Temecula, and I wish good afternoon, commissioners and members of the public, and request that my comments be attached to the formal CEQA administrative record. The proposed amendment to Land Use Policy 6.2 is not an amendment at all, but a complete revocation of the prior policy. As written, the new language is far too broad. It appears the county is trying to create cover for the inappropriate fast-track approval of the Procinctu paramilitary training compound in an area that was zoned for residential and agricultural use. But 2 wrongs do not make a right. Contrary to the staff report before you, a gross deviation from designated zoning should require a general plan amendment so that the public is not fast-tracked out of a public hearing process. The extra approval steps probably are not desirable for developers, but it is the due process public agencies are charged with to provide for the protection of county residents and existing landowners conforming to general plan zoning designations. One huge indicator of how mistaken this new policy is the total deletion of the old language that includes ensuring the public facility serves the surrounding community and is compatible, quote, in scale and design with surrounding land uses and does not generate excessive noise, traffic, light, fumes, or odors that might have a negative impact on adjacent neighborhoods. The red flag that the amendment as proposed should be denied is the removal of all concern from the old policy that, quote, the proposed use will not jeopardize public health, safety, and welfare. The last-minute change in the policy verbiage is further proof that this amendment is not ready for approval. I beg this commission to reject the changes as presented and direct county staff to craft a policy that does not sell out public health, safety, and welfare so that private companies can build almost anything anywhere in the county. I thank you for your time and your careful consideration of this measure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to say that for all the folks that are being manipulated by this nonsense, please do me a favor. Spend the time and the money to buy whatever. How much do we charge for the DVD or the CD for the public hearing?
$12.
$12.50, Mr. Grant. I figured you would know that. And listen to the public testimony that was received during the Procinctu hearing. We had neighbors saying, coming out, and I remember this, coming out and saying, you know, this is zoned for residential. You know, we don't want any more houses out here. We'd rather have these guys out here than houses built. And man, you can shake your head and smile. I chaired that meeting. I remember the public testimony. So anybody that's being manipulated here,
Commissioner Penny, you made your comments about the order of the DVDs?
and order the CD or
Let's hold our comments until we're.
Thank you. Next, I will ask.
It is as follows: initiation of General Plan Amendment 1073, amending Land Use Policy 6.2. This is to inform you that in the strongest terms I oppose this amendment. It opens a gaping wide door to any project that the developer calls a quote public facility unquote and designates as providing a quote benefit for any agent of government, including local agencies. The proposed amendment is an open invitation to political abuse by the county and private developers, and applied to proposed projects such as Procinctu. It allows the county to determine a produced benefit by calling the Blackwater type development an educational institution, thereby snapping the bonds of any reasonable credibility. Do we trust our public officials? Past history in Riverside County has shown little reason for rural folk to do so. This initiation adds fuel to that fire. Now, I notice, with respect to your body, that you have eliminated the last part of this provision, and that is one of the parts that I am really objecting to. However, it still has to go back up to the Board of Supervisors, and I have no confidence in them not doing what they've done many times before, ignoring their own planning commission. Now, there is another thing that concerns me, and this appears in the third line up, where there are the words "or any city." You don't specify incorporated city or unincorporated city, just city. This is an intrusion into the jurisdiction of the incorporated cities. And I called two friends to explain what was going on here this morning, and they are going to be looking into that. The two friends happen to be the mayors, respectively, of Marietta and Temecula. I don't know what any city is doing in there when it's a county issue. And you've heard a lot of things about Procinctu and so forth. From the very beginning of this process, the county has obviously been trying to shove this stuff in under the radar on the public. And that is best exemplified by the memorandum that Supervisor Ashley wrote the rest of the board in early January of 2008, telling them that this project, Procinctu, does not qualify for fast track, but he recommends they do it anyway and approve the project.
You could complete your comments, sir.
That's the direction it's been going ever since. So be happy with the football that you now have.
Thank you, Mr. Wheeler. Kathleen Hamilton.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Everything that I was going to say has been said, so I would just like to turn in a letter from Ray Johnson. And I would like to suggest that, if possible, you would put in the part that you struck A and B that seems to be causing so much confusion and misunderstanding of people. And then the Board of Supervisors would have some guidelines as these projects came to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hamilton. I'm going to butcher this name, Reverend Jung K. Pa.
Good afternoon. I am from Full Gospel LA Church, located in downtown Los Angeles. Over 22 years ago, our church now currently has 1,500 memberships. We have been looking for praise, additional praise to for the facility where we can have seminar or retreat or prayers. And right now we are having 150 acres of prayer mountain located in Roma land. And this prayer mountain has been for all ethnic groups, Koreans, Americans, all ethnic groups, Hispanics, and Afro-Americans. They all come here. This facility is operated 365 days a year. And we do have 4 times of worship services from early morning prayer meeting. And the reason why we got this praise over 22 years ago was we had been looking for a praise, quiet, serene, and nice praise. Then we found that praise, and it has been operated like that. All of a sudden, all this training camp that which you are talking about will be installed there. Then every time we pray, every time we do have services, worship services, all this noise, shooting, hand grenade, and other things might happen. And where do you think we can go? I was suggesting that I would suggest that you can find many other places than this one here.
Sir, were you told that this is a project that we're considering approving? Because this project has already been approved, and there's conditions that, in fact, if I remember correctly, we limited the hours.
I'm just trying to explain the situation of ours.
I understand, but I think you've been misinformed, sir. Have you talked to the operator of the facility that we've approved?
No, eventually, I know these kind of operations. Eventually, they might be indoor. You said you were talking about indoor shooting, but sooner or later, then outdoor shooting, and then all these over covering 200 acres of place. Then
So please inform yourself. Don't take anybody else's word for what's gone on here. Take the time. If you're in fact the owner of that facility, request the transcript, request the conditions of approval, and call the owners of the operation and talk to them yourself.
all of the people, they are testifying that they will not be in favor of these facilities.
It's already been approved, sir.
You said that several times now, and you have heard.
So, are they going to have only indoor shooting?
Sir, you need to request the conditions of approval. And I would encourage you to talk to the actual owners of the facility, which I don't even think it's been built yet.
Correct. Chantel? Since Commissioner Petty's questions, how much time is? Well, okay. Is there anybody else wishing to speak, either in favor, any neutral, or in an opposing position to this application? Seeing none then, excuse me. Sir, you've spoken.
I just make like a couple of comments,
Sir, you've already had your 3 minutes.
so I can't say anymore.
No.
Thanks a lot.
If you have not spoken, you have an opportunity to speak now. Thank you. We will now close the public hearing. We will close
I think we need some discussion.
before the closure.
I don't care.
Okay.
Take a pick.
Discussion?
If I could.
Please.
I apologize to the commission, I apologize to the public. I had a concern about the last, now deleted proposal that was in this ordinance change. And I thought as an illustration, I might talk about a recent project that the commission's familiar with that seemed to be in a fuzzy position, whether it was public, private, or a combination of both. A better example might have been a cell tower that someone was going to share with the sheriff or something. But my only issue was this cloudiness that can occur when a private party comes forward to operate a public facility. As far as I know, I'm the only person that brought up Procinctu with relation to this change. And I did it completely by myself on the spur of the moment during the hearing. So I apologize to all the public that got riled up that thought that somehow this, in some convoluted way, had something to do with Procinctu, because I sure can't draw a line. I was only talking about this instance here, the last part of the proposal that's now been proposed to be deleted by staff. So, sorry about that. Other issues have been brought up, and those are all valid and worth discussing. My biggest issue at that time was I actually wanted more information. What are the checks and balances in place, and what process would any proposal have to follow that was subject to this exemption? And that was brought out further in the staff report. We had discussion during the testimony from county council, which has provided more light on those issues. I just wanted to say that.
Commissioner Roth?
Yes, I think that my reading of this, I guess, second paragraph in the background of the staff report where Commissioner Snell is quoted here, I think, I don't know, maybe I ate the wrong food for breakfast this morning, but I don't read it the same way it sounds like it's coming from the audience out here, because I think Commissioner Snell was trying to clarify this so that projects like Procinctu wouldn't be defined as a public facility for God's sake. That's the way I read this here, and I don't know if that's exactly what he was up to, but it seems to me, and he just brought it up, Procinctu came to him on the spur of the moment, and he said, now, here's an example. It was only used as an example. It wasn't used, you know, as a final hearing on this particular project. So I look at it, it says, you know, he felt this would prevent facilities from providing only some benefits to the county, like the Procinctu project. Well, there would be some benefits to the county. The benefits to the county would be that the sheriff could train there, local police could train there, and in this case, military could train there. So I saw some benefits, you know, to the county of Riverside and being able to train people there. And he indicated, though, it would prevent them from meeting any definition of a public facility. And with the hearing that we held was not to declare that Procinctu was a public facility. I don't think any of us thought at the time that it was. It was a training facility, you know, for military and law enforcement personnel. So I have just an awful lot of trouble with getting this all wrapped up in Procinctu. It could be in something else. And Procinctu, for everybody that's here, I'm not quite sure why it's come up at this late date, you know, other than it seems to pop up, you know, every commission meeting or so, for reasons which I don't understand, because people who were not at the hearing on Procinctu are now questioning Procinctu. So I have no idea why we're in that mode of operation. We should. Maybe the distribution wasn't wide enough on this, but I thought, you know, I think we followed all the county requirements, you know, for notification of everybody. So I don't understand, you know, why this is done and everybody is so riled up. And I think to follow up on Mr. Petty's comment, you know, at this stage of the game, I don't know what you think the planning commission is going to do. You know, I mean, we listened to the project, we heard the testimony, and you can look at us and say, we were misinformed, we were mistaken, we were just plain flat stupid, or whatever you like to think of us. But the fact of the matter is, we listened to the testimony and we approved it. All right, it went on to the Board of Supervisors. The board, I think, has approved it. Is that correct? Correct. So where are we now? You know, I mean, it isn't coming back to the planning commission, I don't think. So I'm not quite sure what you hope to accomplish, you know, with all this, you know, testimony today to the planning commission. I don't see that I can do anything. You know, as planning director, I said, can you help out here? I just don't see that there's any way in the world, you know, that it's coming back here that we're going to do it.
Right. This amendment we're processing today has nothing to do with PUP 885. That was approved last year. This general plan amendment does not in any way, shape, or form address that. Right.
I did take note of one thing that Mr. Wheeler said, and he referred to this. I keep looking. The only way I can get Procinctu into this at all is if I make Procinctu a generic term for any project that you know might come up that is trying to claim it's a public project, but it isn't a public project. That's the only way I can even come close to thinking about it.
So, but correct me if I'm wrong, County Council, whether it's a public project or a private project, it's still going through CEQA. It's still coming before us, and we're still analyzing impacts.
Yeah, I'm going to try one more time to try and clarify this for people, and I'll try and speak loudly. Okay, with that clause stricken, if the commission strikes that clause, they haven't done that yet, but if they do strike that clause, a project like Procinctu could never be considered exempt from the general plan because it's not the federal government, it's not the state government, it's not the county, it's not a special district governed by the county, and it's not a city. So this amendment would in no way sanction future projects like Procinctu or Procinctu itself. Procinctu is fully permitted. And this has nothing to do with that case. And a case like Procinctu in the future would not be able to be considered exempt. Procinctu itself was not exempt. That's why you all came to the hearing. There was a public use permit. It was considered subject to both the general plan and the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't think any of you all came to the hearing. Because if you would have, now that I'm remembering the hearing, I think we had representatives from the sheriff's department speak. We had all sorts of people speak in favor of this project. And I think it was a unanimous vote from us, and it's probably a unanimous vote from the Board of Supervisors. It's all water under the bridge.
In response to your comment, Commissioner Ross, Ms. Weston has appeared at the board and asked that this project be reconsidered. And I think there's an attempt on the part of the community to have the Procinctu project be reconsidered. And this was seen as an opening to get that.
And any reconsideration then could be referred back to us then from the board.
There are no procedures in Riverside County policy or ordinance for reconsideration.
So what does that mean?
That means that if their only remedy is to file a suit if they're not too late.
Yeah. And what is the statute?
It's 90 days.
Well, is that too late? January of last year?
Yes, it is.
Seems to me.
Very interesting. Maybe we should talk about the proposal in front of us.
There you go.
Thank you.
There's a double. Comments?
Yeah, comment. We were.
Excuse me, please, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
We
I
are.
thought I could say that Paul
Excuse me.
Walls gave us
Excuse
more
me.
information about
You-
that fire.
We will not tolerate any outbursts from the audience.
I'm sorry to say comment.
No. Thank you.
All right, so as I said at the beginning of this, with the last sentence eliminated, I'm okay with this, and don't see any other issues really to discuss.
What about items A and B? I have some question on that. Should they be reinstated or included? Or if concerned about noise or fumes or anything else, or any of the environmental issues? I don't have too much problem with it.
All those are going to be covered as part of the sequel.
I was going to say, it would be part of the review.
That's the understanding that I'm getting. As county council has said a couple of times now. The vetting process is still there to address the issues at this time.
Do you think maybe it might help some of the folks in the audience, maybe just have a sentence or something in here that says it will be covered as part of the secret review? I mean, that makes it any clearer for folks out here.
I think the language is crafted. Covers it. That's my view.
Okay.
I agree with that. I'm glad we went through this and got clarifications.
Are there any other issues we wish to address? And I'll close the public hearing. And entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second as stated by staff today.
There's a motion and a second as amended by staff. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. As I stated earlier, agenda items 7.2, 7.3,